Trevor Ashby. From 8.41, Gary Wilmington in the Supra. From 9.53, Peter Dillman in the BMW M3, and his teammate in car 52, John Cotter. Big field of cars for this first round of the Amscar series, and it's a David and Goliath battle between the Nissan and the BMW. Mark Osler, what's your tip?
It's pretty hard to tell. Certainly looking forward to these tighter circuits with the Nissan domination at the moment, but it's anyone's race.
Sitting on the fence. There's our race cam sitting on top of Mark Skaife's Nissan GTR. We have another special camera on the outside of Colin Bond Sierra, ready for the start. And a beautiful start from Mark Skaife. By how much would you like it? He's pulled about 5 car lengths as they head up the hill for the first time. Already under siege is Tony Longhurst from Colin Bond as they reach to the top of the hill. But Longhurst is able to fight back. Now that's going to catch Bond out right through this turn. He's got the nice sideways shift there from Terry Finnegan in the Foodtown Commodore as they exit Dunlop Loop and head down the back straight for the first time.
Lots of scrapping for the miners here, but what about the Nissan off the line? It'll be good when they get it to start properly.
See you later.
One of the BMWs has gone walkabout up the back, car number 52, that is John Cotter. Bob Pearson, a dreadful start in the black VN Commodore, but Terry Finnegan came from nowhere in car 27, the Foodtown VN, the debut of that car this weekend. So there's the gap first to second. Look at Skaife. Unbelievable in the Nissan Motorsport entry. Then we've got Tony Longhurst, Terry Finnegan, then Mark Gibbs and Trevor Ashby making a lunge there at Colin Bond. Behind him, Gary Wilmington, then Bob Pearson, then would have been Peter Dillman in the BMW.
Concept of the Amscar series for 1991, 2x10 lap heats. And it always keeps the racing fairly tight around here, with the exception of Mark Skaife, who has just disappeared into the distance. There's the gap. Mark Skaife to second place, Tony Longhurst in the Benson and Hedges BMW, then the Foodtown Commodore, with Terry Finnegan getting away to a great start. And here's our Dunlop race cam. You might recall we had this at Bathurst during the 2E's 1000, and our race cam engineers under Mark Woodley, John Joyster, Charlie Busby and Rob Breer have come up with a special camera sitting outside on the Caltech Sierra. Now look how close he goes to the wall here. Ducks into the right-hander, then hard out against the guardrail. Kind of takes your breath away, our Dunlop race cam.
This scrap amongst the V8s is a beauty between Terry Finnegan and Mark Gibbs. This is the first time we've seen the VN GIO Commodore. Finnegan locks up the fronts on the way into the Dunlop Loop. These teams have put a lot of time and effort in getting some important data up. But look at the scrap here between Finnegan, Gibbs and Bond. I'd say Bondy's a little extra speed at the moment. Finding a way through is not going to be easy.
Yeah, Bondy got pushed out a bit wide there on the first time through Dunlop. The whole string of Commodores came pushed through from the inside. He's getting his act together now, and he's really giving Mark Gibbs a hard time.
Here's Colin Bond, the Caltech Sierra, sitting on the tail of Mark Gibbs and the Bob Forbes Racing GIO entry. Also picked up a co-sponsor in Windscreens O'Brien, so they're...
Bondy's having a dreadful time getting past the Commodore. Mark moved across to the right to make things a little difficult for him on the way up, which is all part of the game. So if Colin's going to do it, he's going to have to sneak under and catch Gibbs unaware. The great performance here, though, I think, is that of Terry Finnegan, who would have little or no information on the car. It's only just come together in this past week. And he's so far in front of Gibbs, who's certainly been the pick of the Holden runners at this track for the last few race meetings.
It's a good comeback from Terry. I remember at Bathurst last year he had a nasty crash in his VL on Conrod Straight, and that certainly damaged the budget. But here's a nice shiny new VN Commodore and looking very strong.
That the Bob Forbes entry, the 21-car GIO sponsored team, this year look like they'll pick up a Nissan GTR for a little later in the season. They're working on that. You'll see Gibbs with one of the private GTRs.
I don't know that zigzagging up the straight is going to make Bondy's mental approach any better. He's going to get Bondy up on the rev limiter if he keeps doing that.
But if you're the president of the ARDC, you can rub them out of the results later.
That's right.
Well, Freddie Gibson's got to learn one thing, and that is Mark Skaife has disappeared. He's just running in free air, and no one's going to see him, because this is where the scrap is in the race at the moment for third. No. Terry Finnegan, Mark Gibbs, Colin Bond. Carrying our race cam as they head down to the late turn. And here he is, 5 laps to go, Mark Skaife.
He's got a lead of 9.5 seconds.
Gee, isn't that car quick?
It's unbelievable.
Not sure about the colour scheme on it compared to last year. I hope they've finally found and arrested the bloke that sold them the paint scheme for it.
To watch it come off the line at the beginning of this race was quite staggering, wasn't it? He had 100 metres on the field by the time they got to the first corner.
Wasn't if you're sitting behind him.
Here's a chance with Bondi on the inside this time. Can he make good the attack? No. Mark holds the inside running for Dunlop Loop. You can see just how dry it is in New South Wales at the moment. Lots of dust coming up. Also notice the fact that the wall's been moved back on the outside of the loop there.
I think some of the kings with the HQs may have just moved it back a bit.
It pushed it
Brutus
back.
and the boys.
It's getting quite overcast here too, which had to get a drop in the temperature or two, which will help the Commodore boys. These Commodores around here are pretty hard on tyres and brakes.
It's been quite an extensive bit of earthworks done around the 1.9 odd kilometres of Amaroo since we were last here, making the track a little safer and a little less likely to damage your car and therefore save some money. Dunlop race cam shows how close Bondi's shaving the wall as he makes a run again at this big wide Commodore. Gibbsy feints to the inside, but I think Collins through cleanly this time.
He certainly is.
The tyres on the Commodore will be starting to get a little hot and soggy now, so Colin moves up one slot and sets about the task of nailing Terry Finnegan if he can get a little closer. Meanwhile, Mark Skaife leads from Tony Longhurst having a pretty lonely old drive. A gap out to just over 10 seconds now, so Mark's still got the hammer down.
So Mark Skaife's GTR.
Isn't that a great shot? Give us an indication for our interstate viewers of the undulating Amaroo Park course.
It's a terrific little track and always pulls a great crowd out here. It's an unusual circuit. Nothing really like it anywhere in Australia, and it demands a lot of car and driver. Generally speaking, cars that end up being well balanced for this track are pretty well balanced packages wherever they go. Hard on brakes, hard on rubber, and Skaife at the moment coming up onto the back of one of the BMWs as we go back to the scrap in third place. Finnegan Bond.
Bondi starting to monster in the back of Finnegan's Commodore. He's probably suffering the same symptoms as Gibbs' Commodore. Lots of brake, everything getting a little bit spongy.
Bondi got a little too sideways there too on the exit. So a good run from Terry Finnegan, one of the regular Amaroo Park Holden privateers. And this is the track that really does bring out so many of the Holden drivers. In fact, I think it's been a pure delight this year to have had an Amscar series strictly for Holdens. I thought there's many privateers that are looking for a bit of a run. Again, it's Bondi up on the inside of the Foodtown Commodore going to the top of the hill. Can Finnegan get across to the right-hand side? He sure can. Now Bondi sits in behind him. Almost reverse Campbell loop here. And he will attack going down the back straight. Well, they're about a quarter of a lap behind the leaders because the last turn is coming up now for Mark Skaife. And he'll come out of the last turn to take the last lap forward. Gives him one to go while this scrap continues. And here's Bondi again down on the inside, fighting his way.
Ooh. Oh.
Now,
Can he get out of the ground here? No, the Commodore makes good its run out of the corner.
Isn't that a tremendous camera angle the boys have come up with, our race cam lads? Now, can he pull him in, and they can also pass one of the slower cars as they take the last lap board?
Oh, look, and Gibbs has gone back past Bond that time as they came up onto the straight. We were looking at the wrong side of the car.
He must have got held up by the Corolla there, but Gibbs is back in front. These Commodores are going to look about 40 feet wide to Bondi now.
Frustration for Colin. You could hear the car as it came up onto the straight, all that wheel spin. You want to get on with the job and you thump your right foot down and all it does is burn rubber. So much horsepower from the little Ford Sierras as Mark Skaife comes up to take the checkered flag and what will be the first heat of the Amscar and probably more to come. Mark Skaife, the winner for Nissan Motorsport. The gap was out to plus 12 seconds when I last took it a couple of laps back. Daylight to Tony Longhurst, and this is a massive scrap for third place. Finnegan with the Princetown Foodtown entry in third.
Bondi, no, he's not going to be able to do anything about this. They've got a great grunt coming out of slow corners, the Commodores, and the positions stay the same. Finnegan, Gibbs and Bond locked together.
It was a good race, and was made even better by the scrap between these three drivers.
Confirming the Heat 1 positions, a clear win to Mark Skaife from Longhurst.